The palace gates towered like silent sentinels over the sprawling gardens, their golden tips gleaming in the morning sun. Angel tightened the straps of her simple satchel, heart pounding with a mix of nerves and determination. Today wasn't just another day. Today, she would face the most important moment of her life. She was about to take the palace culinary examination, the only way a commoner, and an African woman, no less, could earn a place in the royal kitchens. For years, she had studied Korean cuisine with a devotion that bordered on obsession. Traveling chefs, old villagers, even retired palace cooks had taught her secrets of seasoning, textures, and delicate presentation. She had practiced endlessly, perfecting kimchi, join, japchae, and braised beef, all while knowing the whispers that would follow her anywhere she dared show her skills. What could a black girl possibly know about Korean dishes? The memory of those words stung, but instead of breaking her, they sharpened her resolve. When she arrived at the palace courtyard, dozens of hopeful cooks were already gathered, their polished knives glinting in the sun. The head chefs of the royal kitchen eyed her curiously, some barely concealing skepticism. A senior chef muttered under his breath, "She's from far away, will she even understand our flavors?" Angel kept her head high, bowing politely, and ignored the murmurs. Her hands shook slightly as she unpacked her basket, but her mind was steady. Every dish she prepared was the culmination of years of practice and love. The examination began with a traditional challenge: prepare a full banquet menu in the palace's vast kitchen within the allotted time, with judges tasting each dish as it was completed. The room buzzed with tension, the clatter of knives and pots echoing against marble walls. Angel moved with precision and grace, her movements measured, her focus absolute. Steam curled from the pots, mixing with the fragrant aromas of sesame oil, garlic, and fresh herbs. Minutes turned to hours. The judges approached, tasting each dish one by one. A hush fell over the room when they reached Angel's table. The head judge tasted her braised beef, then her seasoned vegetables, then the perfectly steamed rice. Eyes widened. One judge whispered to another, "Her flavors, they are authentic, yet refined beyond expectation." Murmurs spread. Even the skeptics could not hide their surprise. Finally, a royal messenger appeared, bowing low. "The head chefs and the palace council have reviewed all candidates. Angel, you are officially recruited as a cook for the royal kitchen." Angel's chest swelled with pride, but there was no time to savor it. As she carried her first dish to the prince's table, a carefully prepared beef and vegetable platter, the crown prince himself lifted his gaze. Dark eyes, sharp yet soft, met hers. Prince Kimsung had a reputation for being disowning, but now the faintest hint of intrigue appeared in his expression. "You prepared this?" he asked, lifting a bite with his chopsticks. Angel bowed respectfully. "Yes, Your Highness. I hope it pleases you." He tasted it, and his eyes widened, a sparkle appearing that made her heart flutter. "This is extraordinary," he murmured. "Who taught you?" "No one, Your Highness," she replied. "I learned through practice and dedication. I've always loved Korean dishes." A flicker of something, curiosity, admiration, passed over his face. For the first time, someone in this vast palace truly saw her. From across the hall, a cold, sharp gaze followed every motion. Princess Jong was lips curled into a thin line. "That girl, she dares to attract his attention already," she whispered to a lady-in-waiting, her tone venomous. "We'll see how long this fascination lasts." Angel didn't notice the plotting yet. She only knew that today, through talent, perseverance, and heart, she had earned a place in the palace. And as the prince's gaze lingered just a fraction too long, she felt that perhaps her life in the palace, and something more, was just beginning. The palace kitchens buzzed like a living entity. Steam rose from enormous pots, knives danced over cutting boards, and the scent of sizzling sesame oil mixed with fragrant herbs. Angel moved among it all with quiet confidence, her hands steady, her mind focused. Though her first day had passed successfully, whispers followed her wherever she went. Some cooks admired her skill, while others whispered cruelly, A foreign girl, in our palace? She thinks she belongs here. Angel didn't respond, her attention fixed on perfecting each dish. Yet, even she could not ignore the subtle glances that followed her, particularly from one dark-eyed figure who appeared at the kitchen doorway far too often to be mere coincidence. Prince Kim Sung. Each day, he found excuses to visit the kitchens. Sometimes it was a test of a dish, sometimes it was curiosity. Today, he leaned casually against the counter, watching her chop vegetables with precise movements. "You move with purpose," he said softly, as if sharing a secret, his eyes warm but teasing. Most cooks here would flinch at the pressure. Angel froze for a moment, then bowed politely. "Thank you, Your Highness. I strive to serve the palace well." He chuckled, a sound that made her cheeks warm. "You've already done more than serve food. You've stirred curiosity. Tell me, did you really learn all this on your own?" "Yes, Your Highness," Angel replied, her voice calm, though her heart pounded. "I've studied with many chefs, practiced for years. I love Korean dishes." The prince's eyes softened, lingering on her in a way that made her pulse quicken. "Your passion shows. It's rare." From a corner, hidden behind a towering stack of bowls, Princess Jongwoo observed the scene, her lips pressing into a thin line. Rare, indeed, and undeserved, she thought. She had expected the prince to be charmed by her elegance, by her beauty, by the lineage that tied them together. Yet here was this foreign girl, stealing attention with mere skill. The princess's jealousy simmered like a slow-burning fire, and she whispered to a lady-in-waiting, "Watch her carefully. I will not allow her to overstep her place." Angel, unaware of the plotting, continued her walk. Still, each time she caught the prince's gaze, a small thrill ran through her. He lingered longer than necessary, asking questions about ingredients, techniques, even requesting small tastings of her experiments with subtle spice blends. Each interaction, brief as it was, felt electric. One afternoon, as she carried a steaming plate of seasoned rice to his table, the prince stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Angel, may I call you that?" "Yes, Your Highness," she whispered. "Good," he said, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Then I will be honest. I look forward to seeing you every day." Angel's heart stuttered. The room seemed to shrink around her, the clamor of the kitchen fading to a distant hum. She lowered her eyes, bowing slightly. "It is my honor to serve, Your Highness." But even in this moment of quiet intimacy, the shadow of jealousy crept closer. Jongwoo's narrowed gaze followed their every movement, her mind already plotting how to drive a wedge between them. The seed of forbidden love had been planted, delicate yet dangerous, and Angel had no idea how deeply her heart had already been claimed. Morning light spilled through the narrow palace windows, glinting off polished bronze pots. The air was thick with the smell of sesame oil and freshly steamed rice. Angel moved swiftly among the cooks, her white apron tied neatly over her chest, her braids tucked beneath a soft scarf. Every movement was calm, precise, her knife gliding through vegetables like flowing water. From the far side of the kitchen, a pair of dark eyes lingered on her longer than they should have. Prince Kim Sung stood in the doorway, dressed in a deep blue hanbok embroidered with golden cranes. He said nothing. The servant straightened at once, bowing quickly. Angel caught the movement from the corner of her eye, looked up, and froze. Their gazes met, just for a heartbeat. Then she bowed, lowering her eyes. "Your Highness." Prince Sung stepped closer, his boots echoing softly against the stone floor. "You prepared this morning's meal?" "Yes, Your Highness," she replied, keeping her tone steady. He glanced at the table where her dish sat, a delicate bowl of soybean stew, steam rising in slow ribbons. He lifted the spoon himself, ignoring the shocked looks of the other cooks, and tasted it. A flicker of surprise touched his face. "Perfect." Angel's fingers tightened on her apron. He said nothing more, but his eyes lingered again before he turned away, leaving a silence heavy enough for the whispers to begin. Behind him, near the wall of jars, Princess Jongwoo watched, her jaw set. The silk of her lavender hanbok shimmered faintly as she crossed her arms. "Perfect," she muttered under her breath. "For a foreign girl." Her attendant leaned close. "Shall I speak to His Majesty?" Zhonghwa's smile was cold. "Not yet. Let them walk closer to the fire first." That afternoon, Angel brought the prince's lunch to his study. She entered quietly, her tray balanced carefully in both hands. He looked up from a stack of scrolls, and his usual composure faltered for a brief second. "You again," he said, a hint of a smile tugging at his lips. "I was assigned to deliver this, Your Highness." When she placed the tray before him, one of the porcelain bowls tipped slightly. Before it could fall, he caught it, his hand brushing hers. Time seemed to pause. The warmth of his fingers lingered against her skin, her breath caught. Neither spoke, but the air between them shifted, subtle, unspoken, dangerous. He straightened the bowl carefully, eyes dropping to her hands. "You've burned yourself," he murmured, noticing a faint red mark. Without waiting for permission, he dipped a cloth in cool water and handed it to her. "Be careful in the kitchen." Angel hesitated, then accepted it with both hands. "Thank you, Your Highness." He gave a small nod, but his eyes followed her even as she bowed and left. Outside, in the corridor, Zhonghua was waiting. "How bold," she said, stepping into Angel's path. "You seem very comfortable around the prince." Angel bowed quickly. "I only serve my duty, Your Highness." "Then remember your place," the princess said coldly, brushing past her. Angel stood frozen, her heart pounding. Behind the closed study doors, the prince sat in silence, his hand still resting where her fingers had touched his. Outside, the gossip spread like wildfire. Inside, something dangerous had quietly begun to bloom. The palace courtyard shimmered beneath the harsh midday sun. A line of guards stood motionless before the grand hall, their spears glinting like ice. Inside, tension coiled like a storm. Angel knelt before the throne, her head bowed low, palms pressed against the cold marble floor. The scent of incense mixed with the sharp sting of fear in her chest. On the golden throne sat King Kim Young, expression carved in stone. Beside him stood Princess Zhonghua, her face painted with practiced innocence. "Raise your head," the king commanded. Angel obeyed, slowly lifting her gaze. His eyes were unreadable, but the weight of his authority pressed down on her like a mountain. "I have received troubling words," the king began, "that one of my servants, an outsider, has been seeking favor through deceit. Is it true you have tried to seduce my son, the crown prince?" The hall fell silent. Angel's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her heart hammered wildly. "Your Majesty, I would never—" "Enough!" Zhonghwa's voice cut through the air, smooth but venomous. "Your Majesty, I have seen it with my own eyes. The way she looks at him, the way he smiles at her. It is unseemly." Angel turned to her, voice trembling but firm. "With all due respect, Your Highness, I have done nothing wrong. My only wish is to serve faithfully." From the far end of the hall, Prince Kim Sung stepped forward. His tone was calm, but his eyes, dark, burning, betrayed a quiet storm. "Father," he said, bowing, "I requested her meals because her skill surpasses the others. That is all. If this is a crime, then I alone am guilty." Zhonghwa's face stiffened. "Your Highness." But the king lifted his hand. "Enough. The matter will end here. The cook will remain under watch. If I hear of any further disturbance, she will be dismissed from the palace." The hall erupted into murmurs. Angel bowed deeply, tears burning behind her eyes. "Thank you, Your Majesty." As she was led out, she felt the prince's gaze follow her, intense, wordless, and filled with something she couldn't name. That night, the palace was bathed in silver moonlight. The gardens were quiet except for the rustle of bamboo and the trickle of the lotus pond. Angel sat by the water's edge, her reflection trembling with every ripple. A shadow moved behind her. She turned sharply. Prince Kim Sung stood there, his blue robe blending with the darkness. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered, glancing around. If someone sees, let them, he said softly. You were humiliated because of me. Angel stood quickly. Please, Your Highness, if they see you here with me again, it will destroy us both. He stepped closer, voice barely above a whisper. Then why can't I stay away? Angel's breath caught. Why me? She asked, finally meeting his gaze. You know what they'll say. You already have a princess to marry. Why would you risk everything? For me? Silence. Only the sound of the wind through the bamboo. He took another step, his eyes searching hers. Because when I see you, I forget the walls around me. The rules. The crown. Everything. Angel's eyes glistened. You can't say that. Then tell me to stop feeling it, he said quietly. Tell me to forget you. She froze. Her lips parted, but no words came. The air between them thickened, charged, trembling. Finally, she turned away, whispering, You should go, Your Highness. For a long moment, he didn't move. Then, slowly, he reached out and brushed a stray braid from her cheek. Be careful, Angel, he murmured, his voice breaking ever so slightly. The palace doesn't forgive hearts that dare too much. He turned and disappeared into the darkness. Angel stood there long after he was gone, her hands trembling, tears slipping silently down her face. The forbidden had begun, and the palace was watching. The palace at night was another world. The lanterns burned low, and the corridors shimmered with the faint glow of moonlight filtering through paper windows. Every sound, the shuffle of a guard's foot, the soft whistle of wind, felt magnified, sacred, secret. Angel stood in the kitchen alone, sleeves rolled up, washing the last of the porcelain bowls. Her reflection shimmered in the water, distorted by the ripples. The words of the prince from that night echoed in her mind. Tell me to stop feeling it. She had tried. She truly had. But his voice haunted her every thought, every heartbeat. Still, fear sat heavy on her chest. The palace was not kind to people who crossed its invisible lines. One wrong move could destroy not only her position, but him as well. The faint creak of a wooden door startled her. She turned quickly, water dripping from her fingers. Who's there? A shadow slipped through the door. A moment later, the soft, unmistakable scent of sandalwood filled the room. Your Highness, she whispered. Prince Kim Sung stood before her, cloaked in dark robes, his hair loosely tied back. A single lantern flickered beside them, casting his face half in gold, half in shadow. I had to see you, he said quietly. Angel took a step back, her heart racing. If anyone finds you here, he cut her off gently. I don't care. His tone was steady, but his eyes betrayed everything. Fear, longing, desperation. He stepped closer, his voice softening. You've been avoiding me since the trial. Angel's lips trembled. Because I have to. The king warned me. The princess watches me like a hawk. I can't. Her voice broke. I can't let you lose everything because of me. The prince's hand hovered in the air, hesitating before touching hers. Do you think I care about crowns when I can't sleep without seeing your face? Her breath caught. You shouldn't say that, she whispered. I am not one of your kind. They'll never accept me. They'll say I bewitched you, or worse. He stepped even closer now, his voice low. And what if you did? His fingers brushed against hers, sending a shiver through her body. What if you've bewitched me so completely that I no longer want to be free? Tears welled in Angel's eyes. Don't do this. I already have. Their eyes locked, two worlds colliding, neither able to retreat. Angel's fear trembled beneath her love, but her heart betrayed her silence. Her pulse thundered in her ears, louder than reason itself. Finally, she whispered, Why me, Prince Sung? His answer came without hesitation. Because you're the only one who looks at me and sees a man, not a crown. Her tears fell then, silent, glistening, real. He reached out, gently wiping one away with his thumb. For a moment, time stopped. I don't know how to protect you, she admitted, her voice trembling. But I know I don't want to lose you either. He smiled faintly, sadness glimmering in his eyes. Then let me protect you. A heavy silence followed, beautiful, fragile. The only sound was the quiet crackle of the lantern flame. Angel lowered her gaze. If they find you here, we'll both be punished. Then let's be careful, he said softly. But don't ask me to stay away. He turned toward the door but paused, looking back at her one last time. I'll find a way, Angel, even if it means defying my fate. And then he was gone. Angel sank against the counter, her heart pounding violently in her chest. She pressed a hand over it, whispering to herself, "What are you doing, Angel?" But even in the silence, her lips curved into the smallest, most helpless smile. Because despite her fear, despite the danger, she finally knew the truth. She loved him too. That night, beneath the same moon, the prince stood on his balcony, looking out toward the kitchen's faintly glowing window. A breeze stirred his hair, carrying the faint scent of sesame oil and lilies, the scent of her. The secret had begun to bloom, quietly and dangerously, like a flower opening in the dark. And though neither spoke it aloud, both knew there was no turning back. The palace dawned gray that morning, cloaked in mist. Servants whispered nervously as the echo of footsteps thundered through the royal hallways. A storm was coming, not of rain, but of wrath. And it all began with a frightened maid. Her name was Sion, one of the younger kitchen helpers. That night, while returning a stack of plates, she had seen them, Angel and the crown prince, standing too close in the flickering light. His hand brushing hers, his voice low, tender. She hadn't meant to listen, but what she heard, no servant could ignore. "Do not fear me," the prince had whispered. "I will protect you, always." The next morning, Sion knelt trembling before Princess Zhonghua, unable to meet her eyes. "You're certain of what you saw?" the princess asked, her tone sharp but calm. Sion nodded shakily. "Yes, your highness. I swear it on my life." Zhonghua turned away, hiding her satisfaction behind a fan. "Good. You've done your duty." She leaned closer, her whisper slicing through the air. "Now go, and speak of this to no one." Moments later, she was already making her way to the throne room. By midday, King Kim Young's fury echoed through the palace. "Bring her." Angel was dragged before him, her wrists bound loosely by cloth. The great doors slammed shut behind her, and the silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. The king's face was pale with anger. "You dare bring shame upon this house," he thundered. "A foreigner daring to defile the bloodline of Joseon." Angel fell to her knees, tears burning her eyes. "Your Majesty, I have done nothing to dishonor you. I—" "Silence!" The word cracked like a whip. Even the guards flinched. Prince Kim Sung stepped forward, his robe swaying like storm clouds. "Father, please." The king's gaze cut to him like a blade. "Do not defend her. You, of all people, should know your duty. You are the crown prince of this nation, not a fool blinded by some kitchen girl's tricks." The court fell silent. Angel's breath hitched. But Kim Sung didn't waver. "She is not a trick, father. She is kind, loyal. She has done nothing but serve this palace with devotion." Zhonghua, standing nearby, lowered her head, but her lips curved into the faintest, cruelest smile. The king rose from his throne, fury shaking his voice. "Enough. This disgrace ends now. She is to be removed from the palace at once." "No." Kim Sung's shout echoed, raw and unrestrained. He stepped in front of Angel, shielding her from the guards. "If she goes, then so do I." The entire hall gasped. Angel looked up at him, eyes wide with disbelief. "Your Highness, please don't." The king's voice was deadly calm. "You would abandon your title, your crown, for her?" Kim Sung's jaw tightened. "If it means protecting her, yes." A heartbeat of silence. Then, "Take her away," the king ordered coldly. Two guards seized Angel by the arms. She struggled, tears spilling freely. "Please, your majesty." But the king turned his back. As she was dragged toward the doors, Prince Sung caught her hand for just a fleeting second. Their eyes locked, his filled with fire, hers with heartbreak. "Wait for me," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I will find you." Then the doors closed, and the great palace of Joseon fell silent once more. That night, the prince stood alone beneath the courtyard tree where the moonlight fell pale across the stones. The scent of her still lingered in the air, sesame, and something sweet. He clenched his fists, whispering to the empty night, "I will not lose her." In the far distance, down the mountain path, a carriage carried Angel away from the palace walls, her tears glistening in the moonlight as the gates closed behind her forever. The storm had come, and nothing, not even the king, would stop the love that had already taken root. A month had passed since Angel was sent away. The palace kitchens were quieter now, too quiet. The meals were served on time, the trays still gleamed, but the warmth was gone. The staff whispered that the prince had stopped eating properly. Some said he dismissed every new cook. Others swore they'd seen him alone in the courtyard, standing beneath the old magnolia tree where she once smiled. Angel, meanwhile, lived in a small village at the edge of the mountains. She worked at a humble tea house, her apron faded but clean. Every night, she looked toward the distant palace lights and wondered if he still thought of her. One rainy evening, as she was sweeping the floor, a stranger appeared at the doorway. A royal guard. "Lady Angel," he asked softly, "His Highness requests your presence." Her heart froze. I cannot return." The king forbade. The guard bowed low. "The prince is ill." Gravely, "He calls your name in his sleep." The broom fell from her hands. Without another word, she followed. When Angel entered the prince's chamber, the air felt heavy, perfumed with herbs and medicine. Prince Kim Sung lay pale on the silk bed, his breathing shallow. The room was empty save for the old court physician, who stepped aside silently as Angel approached. She fell to her knees beside him. "Your Highness." His eyelids fluttered open at the sound of her voice. For a heartbeat, disbelief crossed his face, then a faint, aching smile. "You came." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "You should have stayed away from me. None of this would." He reached out weakly, his fingers brushing hers. "How could I live if my heart was already gone?" Her sob escaped before she could stop it. "Please, don't talk like that." For days she stayed by his side, nursing him in secret. Word began to spread through the palace. The foreign cook had returned. The king heard, and his anger boiled anew. But when he entered his son's chamber, ready to command her banishment once more, he stopped. The prince, weak but defiant, sat upright. "If she leaves," he rasped, "I will follow." The king froze. His son's eyes, though tired, carried the same fire as the late queen, his mother's stubborn spirit. Slowly, his anger faltered. He turned to Angel. "Would you still remain by him?" he asked quietly, "knowing what this means for you?" Angel bowed deeply. "Until my last breath, Your Majesty." The king studied them both for a long moment. Then he exhaled, weary. "Fate is strange," he murmured. "Perhaps the gods chose her to remind us that love has no color, no border." He left without another word. That night, for the first time in weeks, Prince Kim Sung slept peacefully, his hand resting in hers. The storm was breaking, but the dawn had not yet come. Spring arrived in Joseon like a whispered blessing. The cherry blossoms bloomed along the palace walls, soft petals drifting through the air like snow. For the first time in months, laughter returned to the royal court. The drums of celebration echoed through the courtyard. The crown prince had recovered, and today a feast was being held in his honor. Angel stood in her quarters, her hands trembling slightly as the maids dressed her in a hanbok of soft ivory and gold, a gift sent quietly from the prince himself. The silk shimmered under the light, and for the first time she felt not like a servant, but something more. A knock came at her door. It was the same guard who had once taken her away. Lady Angel, he said with a small smile, His Majesty has summoned you to the celebration. Her heart leapt. The courtyard glittered with banners, lanterns, and laughter. Musicians played soft, gay melodies as nobles filled the tables. But when Angel stepped through the gates, all sound seemed to fade. Heads turned. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Is that her? The foreign cook? Why is she here? And then, at the far end, Prince Kim Sung appeared. Dressed in royal blue trimmed with white and gold, his eyes found hers instantly. He descended the steps slowly, ignoring the murmurs, his gaze never leaving her. When he reached her, the courtyard fell silent. Even the musicians stopped. The king rose from his throne, his voice steady but gentle. My son has made his choice. Love, it seems, bows to no rule of man. Gasps filled the courtyard. Angel's eyes widened as the king turned to her. You have served this palace with loyalty and heart. From this day, you will no longer serve, you will stand beside. Her breath caught. Your Majesty. The king smiled faintly. Welcome to this family, Lady Angel. The prince reached for her hand, openly, unafraid, and the court exploded in murmurs. Jongwa turned away, hiding the bitterness in her eyes. But the people, slowly, began to clap. One by one, the sound grew, a wave of applause rolling through the courtyard. Angel turned to the prince, tears glimmering. Are you certain? She whispered. Even now? He smiled, the smile she had fallen in love with. I've never been more certain of anything in my life. And then, in front of the court, he pulled her close and kissed her. The courtyard erupted, a mix of gasps, cheers, and falling cherry blossoms swirling around them. Angel's tears mixed with laughter as she pulled away, resting her forehead against his. After everything we've been through, he whispered, we finally found our forever. That evening, as the festival lights glowed across the sky, Angel and Prince Kim Sung sat beneath the magnolia tree, the same place where everything had begun. He handed her a small golden pin shaped like a blossom. For when you become my queen, he said softly. Angel smiled, tears of joy in her eyes. And you'll still want me to cook for you? He laughed, touching her cheek. Always. I fell in love with your heart, but your stew helped. They laughed together, their voices blending with the soft sound of music and wind. Cherry blossoms floated gently through the night air, wrapping the palace in soft pink light. The wind whispered through the garden, carrying a quiet truth only love could speak. Love knows no border, no race, no rule. Only two hearts brave enough to defy the world to be together. And beneath the glowing lanterns of the royal courtyard, the prince and Angel held each other close, their hearts finally at peace, their love eternal. What did you feel watching their love unfold? Do you think the prince made the right choice, or did his heart lead him too far? If you enjoyed this journey of love and courage, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more beautiful stories that stay with you long after they end.